You ever look at the world, the wars, the pandemics, all the chaos, and just wonder, is this all random? Is it just a string of bad luck? Or is there something else going on behind the scenes? Well, today we're diving deep into a really disturbing theory that claims it has the answer.
This is the big question, right? Is it all random, or is it by design? And answering that is going to take us on a wild ride, from a mysterious stone monument in the US all the way to the halls of the Kremlin in Russia. We're going to explore an idea that is either the craziest conspiracy theory you've ever heard, or a terrifying truth that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. So, to really get our heads around this, we're not starting with some abstract idea. We're starting with a physical object, a very real, very strange monument that's a modern mystery etched in solid granite.
And let's be honest, it's not hard to see why people are looking for answers. The 21st century has felt like one crisis after another, feeding this deep sense of anxiety, this feeling that the official story just doesn't add up. And it's in that kind of atmosphere that people start searching for a bigger explanation, a pattern in all the chaos.
And one of the most bizarre clues in this whole puzzle popped up in 1980. Seemingly out of nowhere, this massive granite monument appeared in rural Georgia. They're called the Georgia Guidestones. And the weirdest part? They were commissioned by someone using a fake name. To this day, nobody knows for sure who built them or why.
Now, carved into these stones in 12 different languages are 10 commandments for humanity. And the very first one, well, it's a bombshell. Maintain humanity under 500,000 million in perpetual balance with nature. Just think about that for a second. In 1980, the world population was already close to 5 billion people. So this raises a seriously chilling question. What happens to the other 4.5 billion of us?
An idea that extreme doesn't just pop out of nowhere, right? It turns out that shocking instruction has some deep, deep roots, stretching back centuries, all the way to the dawn of the Industrial Revolution.
And this is where we meet a guy named Thomas Malthus. He was an English economist, and way back in 1798, he published this hugely influential essay with a simple but terrifying argument. He said, look, human population grows exponentially. It doubles, then it doubles again. But our ability to grow food, that only grows arithmetically, one slow step at a time. The result? Sooner or later, we are on a collision course with disaster.
And this chart right here shows you exactly what Malthus was so freaked out about. I mean, look at that curve. It took all of human history for us to reach 1 billion people by the year 1800, but then, boom, we hit 6 billion by the year 2000. Today, we're over 8 billion, and they're predicting we could pass 10 billion by the end of the century. That curve is getting steeper and steeper, and it is just staggering to look at.
But here is where Malthus's theory gets really dark. He wasn't just observing, he had an idea about how this whole problem corrects itself. He argued that the things we see as the ultimate tragedies, what he called positive checks, like war, famine, and disease, were actually nature's grim, but in his mind, necessary way of keeping our numbers down.
Okay, so a creepy theory from the 18th century is one thing. But what happens when those ideas jump off the page and become official government policy? Well, in the 20th century, that's exactly what happened, and the consequences were brutal.
After World War II, a new wave of thinkers, the so-called neo-Malthusians, looked at the population boom happening all over the globe, and they started sounding the alarm loud. They argued that just asking people nicely to have smaller families wasn't going to cut it. No, they said radical, even coercive action was needed to stop a global catastrophe.
And this wasn't just talk. This led to some of the most drastic social engineering projects in all of human history. In China, you had the infamous one-child policy, which was literally written into their constitution. And in India, during a period called the emergency, the government launched a massive sterilization campaign, using everything from threatening people's jobs to denying basic services to meet their quotas.
The scale of what happened it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. In China alone, over about 40 years, the government's policy led to an estimated 330 million forced abortions. 330 million. That's roughly the entire population of the United States.
And that's not all. On top of that, you had another 195 million forced sterilizations, mostly targeting women, all to permanently enforce the state's control over who could have children.
And over in India, the campaign hit an absolute fever pitch. Get this, In the single year of 1976, the government carried out 8 million sterilizations, many of them forced, in this desperate push to hit their population targets. 8 million in 1 year.
So, let's connect the dots. You've got this old, dark theory from Malthus. Then you have real-world governments taking brutal, drastic action based on that very same idea. This is the fertile ground, the perfect storm, from which the ultimate conspiracy theory grew, the Golden Billion.
So what is it? Well, the Golden Billion theory alleges that there's a secret plot run by a cabal of the world's elites, and their goal? To slash the world's population, getting rid of almost everybody, leaving behind only the wealthiest, most powerful 1 billion people to enjoy all of the planet's remaining resources for themselves.
Now, the term itself was really pushed into the mainstream back in 1990 by a Russian author, Anatoly Tsikhanov. He laid out the entire theory in a book, and then he died just 1 year later under very mysterious circumstances, which, as you can probably guess, only added more fuel to the conspiracy fire.
So how would this horrifying plan actually be carried out? Well, the people who believe in this theory point to a few key methods they think are already in motion. Things like engineering deadly viruses, creating controlled starvation by messing with the food supply, stirring up wars, and triggering economic collapses in specific parts of the world.
Now, you might be thinking this all sounds like some fringe internet theory, but it has been picked up at the highest levels of government. Here you have Russian President Vladimir Putin explicitly referencing the theory. He's claiming that Western countries are governed by hidden doctrines that move them towards the Golden Billion. This isn't just some online chat room talk anymore.
Okay, let's take a breath. We've laid out the history, the brutal policies, and this grand, overarching conspiracy theory. But that brings us to the most important question of all. What's real and what's just speculation?
And let's be absolutely clear about this. The Golden Billion, as a specific, coordinated plan by a secret group of elites, remains an unproven conspiracy theory. There's no public document, no leaked blueprint, no concrete proof that it actually exists.
But, and this is a huge but, this is why the theory is so powerful and why it just won't go away. It's like a dark mirror of our actual real-world anxieties. The theory talks about an elite plan to reduce the population. Well, the reality is we face very real pressures from overpopulation. The theory claims there's this malicious plot to hoard resources. The reality is we have documented scientific concerns about resource scarcity. The theory says global events are orchestrated, while the reality is that those same events, war, famine, pandemics, cause unbelievable suffering whether they're planned or not.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? You don't have to believe in a secret cabal in a dark room to be worried. The plan might just be a theory, but the resource crisis, the pressure from a growing population, the global instability, all of that is very, very real. Which leaves all of us with the ultimate question for our future. What happens next?